So tell me a little bit about, so you offloaded from a ship onto a landing
Went
craft?
off of LCT,
And then you,
and then we were on a big British ship, Prince something, and we went downloaded into the LCTs, and then or LCIs. Those were just Higgins boats, the old Higgins boats, and it was bouncy. It was low tide, and it was rough water. Everybody was sick. And then the other problem that we had, and so did everybody, that the tide came in. See, they wanted, as I understand it, they wanted to land at low tide so they could see the barriers. But the high tide came in something like 4 hours. And the beach kept getting smaller and smaller. And these boys, we ran into them. The 2nd Ranger Division took the point. That's where the guns were supposed to be, and there weren't any there. We had 2 companies from the 2nd Rangers with us. What happened, the landing craft got all messed up. Nobody landed where they were supposed to. It's like the paratroopers. And we had 2 companies. We had the LCIs with their 2 companies with us, because their units were way over. They landed where they should be, but we didn't. We were probably a half a mile from where we should have been. We kept looking for the natural things and we couldn't find them.
and so you're approaching the beach, and what was that like? I mean, could you see the beach, or were you down below?
Oh no, I was crawling. I had my nose in it.
No, when you're on your landing craft, could you see the
on
beach
the
as you
landing
approached
craft,
it?
you know, it's looking at any beach from out maybe a couple hundred yards. But as I understand, I don't know this, they told me later that what happened, some of the craft couldn't get in because there was a sandbar there. You know, when you get a riptide, you get a sandbar. And they didn't count on them, and some of the guys got hung up on them. And a lot of them got blown up because they were stuck. They were stationary. Plus, I don't know, it was just a mess. The Air Force was supposed to have bombed the coast. They bombed 3 miles behind. They didn't destroy anything. And then the idea was that they'd make shell holes for cover. Well, there was no shell holes back there. We complained about it because they were supposed to have knocked out everything on the beach. And I don't know who the young guy commanding a destroyer was, but he saved the whole damn thing as far as I'm concerned. He pulled that destroyer in close, and he started shelling.
And could you see him? Could you see
we
him?
saw him, yeah. It's a wonder he didn't bottom him out. I thought he was going to come up on the beach. But I read an article about him. He got a DSC because he took that destroyer right in, turned it around, and started shelling. And then I read later where Bradley was about to call it off, not land any more in there because it was so bad.
Well, so Ted, walk me through kind of sequentially. You're out in the water. I mean, what was it like just loading to go? Were you nervous? Were you?
We got dumped out in water, and in fact, one of my scouts, he got hit just when the ramp went down. I saw him in the water, and he was sort of moaning. I couldn't reach him. He had a pack on anyway. He just sank down, and I saw blood come up in the water. I said, well, it's no point. But we got dumped off in about chest deep water. They were getting what would happen? A landing craft would get stuck, and the gunners up on the coast knew it, and they'd turn the machine guns on them. As soon as the ramp went down, the guys would just fall. That's what happened to us. We caught some stuff just as the ramp was going down. One of my guys went in, and I saw one of the other boys go in on the other side. I had 4 scouts with me. I had 7 scouts, but only 4 of them were on my landing craft. And I told the boys, when you go, don't slow down, just keep moving, flat out. And of course, you're in water, you can't run in water. But then it was just mass confusion as far as I'm concerned. When you're in a position like that, you don't care what's over here, you don't care what's over there, you care what's right here. I don't know what happened over here and over because I wasn't looking. As soon as you can get to the point where you can walk, you know, if you ever tried to walk in a pool, you can't do it. But when you get up knee deep, now you can start to walk. As soon as you get to the point where you can get your legs to work, then you go like that.
So you're running up.
You're running for the foot of the cliff because the guns can't shoot down.
And how long did it take you to get from the water to the edge of the cliff?
Oh, I don't know. Probably 45 minutes.
Took 45 minutes to go.
You can't move too far at a time. I found out I wouldn't move more than 6 or 8 inches at a time.
And did you run from obstacle to obstacle, or were you just moving straight up?
I ran, I crawled fast, I crawled slow, any way I could do. I was scared. I mean, I was 18 years old. I was just a kid, and it didn't freeze me, but it scared the heck out of me. I saw boys get hit, just flip them over backwards. You can't believe the impact of a bullet in the head. I saw boys floating in the water that never made it out of the water. And then, I don't know, I tried to find our lieutenant, I couldn't find him. And then I saw a couple of guys get killed.
How were they killed? Just machine gun fire?
Rifle and machine gun. There was so much stuff flying around. Mortars, they were firing mortars. Machine guns were just sweeping the beach. There's no airplanes. Of course, they had air control. I wasn't close to anybody, but I saw the medics. They did a heck of a job. I saw some of the boys getting pulled out of the water. The medics really exposed themselves too. I'm surprised. They lost a lot of medics that day, but those guys had guts. I've always had a lot of respect for the medics. And I didn't get hurt, didn't get a scratch.
So when you're moving up the beach, were you able to see the Germans at all? I mean, were they just...
No, they're up on the cliff.
Yeah.
You can't see them. You're down here at eye level. It's like 90 feet. You don't look up. That's what
was your attitude at that moment towards the Germans? Were you angry at them? I mean,
fright and angry. I'm calling them names and scared at the same time.
Did you fire your weapon at all?
Oh yeah, you're firing your weapon all the
time. So at that point,
I had a Thompson with me.
So were you firing as you're moving up the beach?
Well, what we were trying to do was pin the gunners down. They'd pop their heads up, you know, and the guys would load up on, try to get them, keep them down so they couldn't see anything.
So after 45 minutes, you finally reached the shingle,
We finally got to cover up against, there's some big rocks there. We got up behind them. And what you got to do is get out of the line of fire. The problem was that you've probably heard about the 29th Division up here, Virginia National Guard. Cota was their exec officer, assistant division commander. He's the one that set up the motto for the Rangers now. He came over, I was probably a couple hundred yards away, and some of the boys were putting some Bangalores together. He says, come on, boys, get these damn guys off the beach. You Rangers lead the way, and that's where the motto came from for the lead.
And then how did you get up the beach? I mean, how did you get through
Well, this Cota came down. He was maybe 100 feet away from us when he made that remark. And he made also, there was a major there that made a remark. I didn't hear it, but I heard about it later. He told his boys, he said, there's two kind of guys on this beach, those that are dead and those that are going to be dead. Now let's get the hell off this beach. And he took his boys off, and then Cota asked the Rangers to lead the way, and they took Bangalores. They were putting them together. You know what a Bangalore is? And there was a Veerville draw, and a draw is nothing but a little gully. It goes up to the top. And that was the town we were headed to, Veerville. And that's the boys. I wasn't with them when they went, but they went up that draw, and they put Bangalores together and blew the barbed wire, but they still had mines up there. And one guy, I didn't know him. He was from another outfit, but he collected some cattle and drove them through the field to blow the mines up. And I said, boy, that guy's ingenious.
And so as you went up the draw, what did you see? Were you starting to encounter
we just came out, and of course it's just flat. So the British went in where it was flat, and that's why they didn't have many casualties. And there was probably 400 yards of field in a little town, and they knocked out the town. That's where they had the pillboxes and things. And the British just walked through the field. We didn't have, they had our fields covered in crossfire. So most of the guys, you just learn how high you can get, you know. you duck walk a lot of times.
Well, so then as you, at the end of D-Day, when you got to the top of the draw, did you have time to look back at everything that was behind?
Not really. It was starting to get a little better then. Yeah. As soon as they got the guns off the cliffs, then they started moving in with the heavy stuff. The thing that impressed me was how people react. Different people react under stress. Some people handle it, some don't.
I'm sure you saw plenty of people that didn't handle the stress well. What did that look like?
Oh, I saw them crying. I saw them shaking. I saw them just completely frozen. They just freeze up. That was what was happening when we went on to the 116th Regiment out of this Virginia Division. They were young kids like me, but they hadn't had the training I'd had. You know, it's funny. I watched Private Ryan. I see these guys coming out of the pillbox, and these guys are shooting them as they come out. You don't do things like that. Guy's got his hands up. You don't shoot him. He's a human being, same as you are. That's one thing I didn't like about that movie. Taking pot shots at those guys out they came out of the pillbox. You don't do things like that. I didn't. Maybe some guys did.
Well, certainly there are a lot of people pretty angry, I'm sure, and pretty.
Oh, you get mad. You want to do it, but then you stop to think, well, he's another guy. He's in there doing what I'm doing. He's doing what his country tells him to do. You know, he might be a good friend if you know him at home. And it's sad. That's a sad part of war. I've always said that old men start them and young men fight them. Politicians start wars, and it's mostly an ego trip. And then young men have to go fight them.
Of all that you saw, what was the most amazing thing you saw, the thing that you remember the most?
The thing that impresses me is the integrity and the common sense of an average American soldier. He doesn't need an officer telling him what to do. He knows what to do. The German army is just the opposite. If they lose their officer corps, they're dead. Americans aren't that way. The individual non-coms, he can think just as fast as anybody. And he'll preserve himself, believe me. The idea of surviving is a great incentive to do what you have to do. Anybody that came up that beach and survived had the good Lord sitting on his shoulder. I mean, there was just so much stuff flying around. If you didn't get hit, it was a miracle.